Hey everyone, not every landmark is built to last forever. Some of the world's most iconic tourist attractions were once major crowd pullers, until disaster, decay, or demolition erased them from existence. Here are some famous tourist spots that have vanished over time. The pink and white terraces of New Zealand. Long before New Zealand's glowworm caves or geothermal geysers drew travelers in, the country's most treasured natural wonder was the magnificent pink and white terraces. Located on the shores of Lake Rotomahana, these cascading silica formations were often called the eighth wonder of the natural world. Formed over thousands of years by geothermal activity, boiling mineral water flowed down the hillside, cooling to create dazzling white steps of silica. The pink terraces, tinged by iron oxide, shimmered with a soft rose-gold hue. By the mid-1800s, they had become New Zealand's top tourist attraction, drawing visitors from around the world to soak in the mineral-rich waters, believed to have healing powers. Guided by Maori women like the famed Sophia Hinarangi, travelers crossed the lake and climbed the delicate formations, learning their cultural importance along the way. Then came June 10, 1886. Mount Tarawera erupted violently, burying nearby villages and reshaping the landscape. The pink and white terraces were thought to be completely destroyed, swallowed by ash, lava, and mud. For over a century, they were believed lost forever. But recent underwater research has uncovered remnants beneath Lake Rotomahana's surface, hinting that pieces may still survive, hidden in the volcanic depths. While the terraces can no longer be seen as they once were, their story lives on, etched into New Zealand's landscape, history, and imagination. The original Crystal Palace, London. In 1851, London hosted the Great Exhibition, a massive celebration of the Industrial Revolution's achievements. To house it, architect Joseph Paxton designed something as groundbreaking as the event itself, the Crystal Palace. Constructed in Hyde Park, this enormous glass and iron structure was unlike anything the world had seen. Measuring about 1,850 feet long and covering over 900,000 square feet, it was made entirely of prefabricated cast iron and glass panels, a revolutionary modular design for its time. The palace dazzled visitors and became a symbol of modern engineering and Victorian ambition. After the exhibition, the entire building was dismantled and relocated to South London, where it reopened in 1854, larger, grander, and surrounded by gardens, fountains, and life-sized reconstructions of ancient wonders. It quickly evolved into a cultural hub and one of Britain's most iconic landmarks. But on November 30th, 1936, disaster struck. A fire broke out, possibly due to faulty wiring, and rapidly consumed the building, fueled by the wooden floors and flammable displays. Firefighters were unable to contain the blaze, and within hours, the Crystal Palace was reduced to twisted iron and ash. The glow from the flames was visible across the city. Though some sculptures and garden features remain, the palace itself was never rebuilt. Its loss marked more than just the end of a building. It was the fading of an era defined by bold vision and industrial pride. Kowloon Walled City, Hong Kong. Kowloon Walled City was one of the strangest urban anomalies the modern world has ever seen. Tucked inside Hong Kong, it began as a Qing dynasty military outpost. But after Britain took control of the surrounding new territories in 1898, the tiny enclave was left in a legal no-man's land, claimed by neither Britain nor China. Out of this loophole, a lawless city began to grow. Over the decades, squatters poured in. Without oversight or building codes, they stacked makeshift towers 10 to 14 stories high on just 6.5 acres of land. By the 1980s, over 33,000 people were crammed into this dense web of concrete and corridors, making it the most densely populated place on Earth, with more than 3 million residents per square mile. There were no official utilities, but the city was alive with activity. Noodle shops, unlicensed dentists, factories, schools, and clinics all operated in its shadowy maze. Families lived in homes no bigger than a shipping container. Children played in alleyways so narrow they were called hallways of darkness. It was chaotic, yet remarkably self-sufficient. But as Hong Kong prepared for its 1997 handover to China, the city became a symbol of embarrassment. In 1987, officials moved to clear it out. Demolition began in 1993. Today, the site is a tranquil park. A few stone remnants remain, but the vertical jungle of Kowloon Walled City has vanished, leaving behind one of the most surreal chapters in urban history. The original Penn Station, New York City. Once hailed as a civic masterpiece, New York's original Pennsylvania station was more than a train terminal. It was a temple of transportation. Designed by McKim, Mead and White, it opened in 1910, stretching across 8 acres with a facade inspired by Roman architecture. Inside, travelers stepped into a grand concourse bathed in natural light from a steel and glass ceiling 120 feet above. It wasn't just a station, it was a majestic gateway to the city, embodying the ambition of early 20th century America. But as rail travel declined in the post-war era, the once celebrated station became a financial burden. By the early 1960s, the Pennsylvania Railroad was desperate. In 1963, despite widespread protest, the station was demolished to make way for Madison Square Garden and a cramped underground replacement. The loss was devastating. The soaring columns, vaulted spaces, and architectural grace were replaced by fluorescent lights and concrete walls. Though a few ornamental pieces were preserved, the soul of the structure was gone. Yet its destruction sparked change. Outrage over the demolition led to the creation of the New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission in 1965, helping save other historic buildings, including Grand Central Terminal. The original Penn Station was lost in a moment of short-sighted practicality, but its memory endures as both a cautionary tale and the catalyst for America's modern preservation movement. The Sutro Baths, San Francisco. Perched on the rugged cliffs of San Francisco's Pacific Edge, the Sutro Baths were once the largest indoor swimming complex in the world, a monument to Victorian ambition and coastal ingenuity. Opened in 1896 by former Mayor Adolph Sutro, the facility featured 6 saltwater pools and 1 freshwater pool, each at a different temperature. Ocean water was pumped in directly during high tide, with a circulation system capable of moving 1.5 million gallons an hour, a technological marvel for its time. The structure itself was awe-inspiring, nearly 500 feet long and wrapped in glass and iron, creating a bright, greenhouse-like environment. But swimming was just the beginning. Visitors could enjoy diving boards, slides, trapezes, cafes, even a bizarre museum of global oddities. With seating for thousands and regular concerts and events, it was part resort, part amusement park, and part civic gathering space. Yet as decades passed, tastes changed. Television, suburban living, and high maintenance costs took their toll. By the 1960s, the baths were largely abandoned. A developer planned to replace them with luxury apartments, but during demolition in 1966, a mysterious fire broke out, destroying what remained. Arson was suspected, but never proven. Today, the ruins of the Sutro Baths still hug the cliffs, slowly being reclaimed by sea and time. Now part of the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, they stand as haunting ruins, echoes of a time when cities built with wonder in mind, not just profit. A ghost of grandeur, a memory etched into the rocks. The Berlin Wall's Death Strip, Germany. It wasn't a tourist attraction in the traditional sense, but for nearly 30 years, the Berlin Wall was one of the most visited symbols of division in modern history. Built almost overnight in 1961, the wall physically and ideologically split East and West Berlin. What started as barbed wire quickly became a 96-mile fortress of concrete, watchtowers, tank traps, and floodlights. The most haunting section was the Death Strip, a wide exposed zone designed to give East German guards a clear shot at anyone trying to flee. Many tried. Hundreds died. Yet from the West Berlin side, the wall became a strange spectacle. Viewing platforms let people peer into East Berlin, capturing photos of the contrast. Colorful graffiti and protest art on one side, cold grey silence on the other. To stand before it was to stare directly into the Cold War. Then, on November 9, 1989, everything changed. Amid mounting unrest, East Germany suddenly announced that borders were open. Within hours, Berliners from both sides swarmed the wall, climbing it, cheering and chipping away at it with hammers. The death strip, once deadly, turned into a festival of freedom. Over the next months, the wall was dismantled. Today, only fragments remain, scattered in museums and memorials. The former death strip is now home to bike paths, parks, and public art. The wall is gone, but its story still stands, a reminder of how far division can go and how powerful it is when people come together to tear it down. The original MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas. When the original MGM Grand Hotel and Casino opened on December 5, 1973, it wasn't just another Las Vegas resort, it was the largest hotel in the world. Built by casino magnate Kirk Kerkorian, the $100 million property redefined spectacle and luxury on the Strip. With over 2,000 rooms, 2 grand theaters, and a massive casino, the MGM Grand was more than a hotel. It was an entertainment empire. Its emerald exterior paid tribute to the Wizard of Oz, with yellow brick road motifs and golden accents continuing the fantasy inside. Big-name acts like Dean Martin, Diana Ross, and Frank Sinatra packed its iconic venues. The MGM Grand helped usher in a new Vegas, less mob-run, more corporate, more family-friendly. But that dream turned into a nightmare on November 21, 1980. A fire broke out in a ground-floor restaurant. With no sprinklers in key areas like the casino and dining spaces, flames and toxic smoke spread quickly through the building. Smoke poured up elevator shafts and into ventilation systems, reaching guests trapped in upper floors. Though the flames were contained, the smoke killed 85 people, making it Nevada's deadliest disaster and one of the worst hotel fires in U.S. history. The tragedy led to sweeping changes in fire safety codes across the country. Sprinklers, alarms, emergency exits, standards we now consider basic, were strengthened because of that day. The hotel reopened 8 months later, but the legacy of the fire lingered. Renamed Bally's in 1986, the original building still stands, but the iconic MGM Grand of the 1970s is gone. Its story mirrors Vegas itself, bold, ambitious, and constantly reinventing itself, often through fire and fallout. The Lost Trolley System of Los Angeles, Pacific Electric Railway. Long before Los Angeles became famous for its traffic and endless freeways, it had the largest electric railway system in the world, the Pacific Electric Railway, better known as the Red Cars. In the early 1900s, this vast network stretched over 1,000 miles, connecting downtown LA to Santa Monica, Pasadena, Long Beach, and even San Bernardino. It was more than just public transit. It shaped the city's growth and daily life. Millions relied on the red cars to commute, visit the beach, or explore the surrounding countryside. The system was the brainchild of Henry Huntington, a real estate tycoon with a clever plan. Lay down tracks through empty land he owned, then develop and sell that land to people using the rail lines. Entire neighborhoods grew along these routes. But by the 1950s, the city's priorities shifted. Cars were in, and public transit was out. Highways expanded, suburbs spread, and car ownership soared. At the same time, a controversial theory emerged, the GM streetcar conspiracy, suggesting auto and oil companies deliberately destroyed electric rail to boost car sales. Regardless of the reason, the red cars vanished. By 1961, the final line shut down. Most tracks were ripped out or buried beneath pavement. Today, only a few restored cars exist as museum pieces. The red cars weren't just a mode of transport, they were a vision of what Los Angeles could have been, a connected, rail-driven city that moved with quiet efficiency instead of crawling in gridlock. The original Luna Park, Coney Island, Brooklyn, New York. In the early 1900s, Coney Island was the heart of American amusement, and at its center stood Luna Park, a glowing fantasy land that changed entertainment forever. Opened in 1903 by Frederick Thompson and Elmer "Skip" Dundee, Luna Park wasn't just a collection of rides, it was a spectacle of light, technology, and theatrical wonder. Built on the former Sea Lion Park grounds, Luna Park stunned visitors with over 250,000 electric lights, an incredible sight at a time when many homes were still lit by gas lamps. At night, its illuminated domes, spires, and towers turned the Brooklyn shore into a dreamlike city of light. But it was the attractions that truly amazed. Visitors rode gondolas through artificial Venetian canals, witnessed fiery recreations of the Mount Vesuvius eruption, and journeyed on a simulated airship for a trip to the moon, encountering strange lunar landscapes and whimsical moon creatures. More than 90,000 people came on opening day. For decades, Luna Park brought magic to everyday lives, offering an escape from reality and a glimpse into a more imaginative world. But its glow faded. A major fire in 1911 destroyed much of the park. Though it was rebuilt, it never regained its full glory. The Great Depression and a second devastating fire in 1944 marked the end. Today's Luna Park is a modern version, but the original was something special, a fleeting, brilliant vision of joy, light, and dreams that once defined Coney Island. The London White City. Over a century ago, London's White City was more than just a neighborhood. It was a vision of modernity and imperial pride. Built in 1908 to host the Franco-British exhibition and the Olympic Games, the site in Shepherd's Bush spanned over 140 acres and was filled with dazzling white buildings in a Moorish meets neoclassical style. Their glowing stucco facades earned the area its nickname, the White City. The exhibition wasn't merely a sports venue, it was a celebration of empire, industry, and innovation. Over 8 million people visited, wandering through elaborate pavilions showcasing British colonies, global trade, and replicas of world landmarks. Amusement rides, toboggan slides, and scenic railways added to the spectacle. The grandeur drew comparisons to Chicago's 1893 World's Fair. Its most lasting creation was the White City Stadium, then the world's most advanced arena. Built to hold over 68,000 spectators, it helped establish the now standard marathon distance of 26.2 miles, extended so runners would finish in front of the Royal Box. Despite its impact, the site was never meant to be permanent. By the 1920s, buildings began to crumble, and by the 1960s, most had vanished. The stadium held on until 1985 before being demolished. Today, little remains beyond a name and a few echoes in the urban landscape. But for a short time, White City stood as a bold symbol of early 20th century ambition and spectacle. The Millennium Dome's Lost Exhibition. When the UK entered the year 2000, it unveiled one of its most ambitious projects, the Millennium Dome. Built on the Greenwich Peninsula beside the River Thames, the structure was a futuristic marvel. With a diameter of over 365 meters and 12 towering yellow masts representing the months, it was designed to be both symbolic and massive, its circular form echoing the full calendar year and its location right on the prime meridian linking it to global time. Inside, the dome housed the Millennium Experience, a huge exhibition meant to celebrate British innovation, culture, and the future. Divided into 14 themed zones, it covered topics from the human body to money, faith, and work. One of the most memorable was the Body Zone, where visitors walked through a giant human head into an interactive anatomy exhibit. Despite its £800 million price tag and sky-high hopes, the dome fell far short of expectations. Visitor numbers barely reached half the predicted 12 million, and many found the exhibits confusing or dull. The media slammed it as poorly planned, overhyped, and a colossal waste of public money. By the end of 2000, the Millennium Experience closed down. Its exhibits were dismantled, sold, or destroyed. While the dome survives today as the O2 Arena, the original vision disappeared almost overnight, a grand idea undone not by time, but by disconnect. The Elephantine Colossus of Coney Island. Long before Disneyland or towering roller coasters became the face of amusement, Coney Island was home to one of the most bizarre and unforgettable attractions ever built. A massive building shaped like a giant elephant. Known as the Elephantine Colossus or the Elephant Hotel, this towering 122-foot-tall structure opened in 1885 and quickly became a landmark. Designed by architect James Lafferty, who had actually patented the concept of animal-shaped buildings, the elephant was constructed with wood and tin over a metal frame. A tower-like structure, or howdah, rested on its back, giving it a regal and exotic appearance. Positioned facing the sea, it greeted arriving ferry passengers with a surreal welcome. But this wasn't just a statue, it was a fully functioning building. Visitors could climb spiral staircases inside its legs and explore several floors, which housed a cigar shop, a museum, guest rooms, and even an observation deck inside the howdah. It was one of the earliest examples of novelty architecture, blending entertainment with entrepreneurship. At first, it was a hit, but as more elaborate parks like Luna Park and Dreamland emerged, the Elephant Hotel was overshadowed. By the 1890s, it had become run down and developed a reputation. Some even rumored it had been turned into a brothel. In 1896, it was condemned, and later that year, a fire destroyed it completely. Today, only old photographs and postcards remain to tell its story. The original Elephant Hotel may be gone, but it left behind a legacy of wild imagination and whimsical tourism. The original Waldorf Astoria Hotel, New York City. Long before Disneyland or towering roller coasters became the face of amusement, Coney Island was home to one of the most bizarre and unforgettable attractions ever built. A massive building shaped like a giant elephant. Known as the Elephantine Colossus or the Elephant Hotel, this towering 122-foot-tall structure opened in 1885 and quickly became a landmark. Designed by architect James Lafferty, who had actually patented the concept of animal-shaped buildings, the elephant was constructed with wood and tin over a metal frame. A tower-like structure, or howdah, rested on its back, giving it a regal and exotic appearance. Positioned facing the sea, it greeted arriving ferry passengers with a surreal welcome. But this wasn't just a statue, it was a fully functioning building. Visitors could climb spiral staircases inside its legs and explore several floors, which housed a cigar shop, a museum, guest rooms, and even an observation deck inside the howdah. It was one of the earliest examples of novelty architecture, blending entertainment with entrepreneurship. At first, it was a hit, but as more elaborate parks like Luna Park and Dreamland emerged, the Elephant Hotel was overshadowed. By the 1890s, it had become run down and developed a reputation. Some even rumored it had been turned into a brothel. In 1896, it was condemned, and later that year, a fire destroyed it completely. Today, only old photographs and postcards remain to tell its story. The original Elephant Hotel may be gone, but it left behind a legacy of wild imagination and whimsical tourism. The Imperial City Wall Gates, Beijing, China. For centuries, Beijing was a walled city, enclosed by towering fortifications and majestic gates that reflected its imperial legacy. First constructed during the Yuan dynasty and expanded by the Ming, these city walls were not just defenses, they were masterworks of design and symbolism. Gates like Zhengyangmen, Dongzhimen, and Shijimen were more than entry points. They were ceremonial landmarks aligned with feng shui and Confucian ideals, where emperors paraded and the public gathered for festivals and rituals. But as the 20th century brought rapid change, these ancient structures were redefined, from sacred to outdated. The rise of cars, buses, and trains turned the walls into perceived barriers to modernization. During the 1950s and 60s, under the communist government's push for progress, vast sections of Beijing's historic cityscape were demolished. One by one, the mighty walls and barbicans fell, bricks carted away, moats filled, history erased in silence. By the 1970s, most of the once formidable defenses were gone. Only fragments like the southeast corner tower survive today, some original, others reconstructed. Most visitors now pass through Beijing unaware they're moving along routes once flanked by stone giants. The fall of Beijing's city walls wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. A living link to China's dynastic past was severed, not by war, but by development. In the pursuit of the future, the city let go of a remarkable part of its soul. The original roof and spire of Notre-Dame, Paris, France. For over 850 years, Notre-Dame Cathedral stood at the heart of Paris, an enduring symbol of Gothic architecture and French heritage. Its towering spire, graceful flying buttresses, and twin bell towers shaped the city's skyline. But on April 15, 2019, that legacy was shaken by a devastating fire. Construction of Notre-Dame began in 1163, with most of it completed by the 14th century. While much of its structure was medieval, the iconic spire was a 19th century addition by architect Eugène Viollet-le-Duc, who led a major restoration influenced by Victor Hugo's The Hunchback of Notre-Dame. He also added 12 copper apostles spiraling around the spire. Hidden beneath the roof was the forest, a dense lattice of oak beams, some dating back to the 12th century, supporting the massive lead-covered roof. When fire broke out in the attic, it raced through the dry, ancient wood. Within hours, the roof collapsed, and the central spire toppled in a fiery fall that stunned the world. Though much was saved, the twin towers, the rose windows, and sacred relics, the roof and forest were lost forever. In the fire's aftermath, nearly €1 billion was pledged for restoration. Efforts are underway to reopen by December 2024. Yet, the original craftsmanship can never be fully replaced. The fire proved a haunting truth. Even the grandest monuments are fragile reminders of the past.